This is Lee with 82 Gaming 12 here on YouTube channel Sons of Liberty 75. And now we are continuing with our playthrough of our Borodino comparison. Right now we're on the Great Redoubt, produced by Yaquinto Publications Incorporated in 1979. Let's see here. Thought I would have. Oh yeah, here's the credits. Show you the credits here. So we've got design and development, S. Craig Taylor Jr., production coordination, J. Stephen Peak, box art from Borodino Cyclorama, graphic design and typesetting, Yaquinto Printing Company. So there you go. All right. We are in the process of finishing up the fire phase during the French turn of the 0630 hour. So let's get started with that. We'll start over here. So let's get a little closer. We'll start with this one right there. Let's get rid of that. Use this here. So that's the 3rd division. B. All right, so first guard, 2B, they have a 9. They've taken 1 loss, so they're still at 9. Oh, I rolled an 11. So they failed. So they are going to have to retreat. Now they do have, let's see, they do have this leader. So they get that modifier of Stroganov, 1 dot, but that still only gets them to 10. Or we subtract 1 from the die, that still gets it to a 10 instead of 11. They have a 9, so they have to route. Let's see here. Okay, so all combat units that fail a fire or melee morale check, or defending combat units that fail a charge morale check, are routed. Any combat units which is routed immediately takes a route loss and must have 1 box on its track on the strength and morale sheet marked off. If this is the last unmarked box, then the unit's eliminated. Routing units that pass through the zones of control of enemy units must have one loss marked. Well, they're not passing through. But let's see, let's see what this other unit is. Well, we've got that artillery unit there. That's the 3rd foot. Yeah, they've got a 9-2. But I don't think the artillery gets to, I don't think they get to retreat. So they do have to take a loss. What did I say? 2B. Oh, that's the wrong thing. So I marked the loss right here, right there. Okay. And then they have to retreat. And then I need to check to see what the artillery will do. Don't believe they get to route. Like they're just captured. Yeah, here we go. It's optional artillery route. Yeah, they would just be captured. So you're a route marker, which is going to be blue because this is happening during the French turn. So this unit is going to be 1. Let's see, they route. Let's see how they route. The routing unit is moved in number of hexes equal to its printed movement factor, regardless of normal movement cost. Okay. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, the leader goes with it. And that unit that is routed to but of course we have So we just put a melee marker here. Well, we don't put a melee marker yet. Okay, so then we have to check this side here. That cavalry unit. We'll also have melee let's see, not melee, morale modifiers. Not running much modifiers for that. So that cavalry, okay, who knows cavalry? They have a morale of 6. Seven is rolled. -1 because the leader's with them. So they survived. And the 5th cavalry has a 9. So they both passed. All right. Then we have these guys here. They have a leader. And let's see, that's who knows? Is that 24D? Okay, they've got a morale of 7. Just subtract one for the leader. They rolled a 6, so they passed. And two B. They had a 7. They passed. I think you just have to roll for the highest. Not for both, but you just look at the highest in the hex. But I don't know, I don't see where it says. Well, I'm just going to check, roll the die and check it off of both, whoever's in there. Okay, let's go to this unit. We've got a leader. So we've got 2 units there. 57 and 25. Compound. That's the booze. $57 and 25. So 57 has a 7. Leader subtracts 1 from the die. We rolled a 7. The other one has an 8, so they're both fine. Okay, then this one here. One B and 2B. We rolled an 8. 1B has an 8, 2B has an 8, so they passed. Okay, then we look over here. We've got these units here. So we've got the 8 foot. They've got an 8. Rolled a 3, so they passed. We've got to look up here at that artillery unit. That's the booze. 3rd foot. They've got an 8. 7. They passed. So here we've got a leader there. That's going to be a -1. So the 7th Corps, 20. 26. 7th. 26. They got it. They got an 8 -1. Okay, rolled a 5, so they survived. We go to this one here. We've got a leader there. So 4th Cavalry. DMT-4. They get a 5. Rolled a 4. Okay, this means everybody's going to pass. So here, 13 light and the 17th. 13th light has a 7, 17th has an 8. I rolled a 4. They passed. Then these units here, there's Moran in there. So they get a -2. So the first foot and the 30th. 30th has an 8. I rolled an 8. The first foot has a 7, but we get to subtract 2, so the dice becomes 6, so they passed. All right, then we have two Russian units here. The 6 core foot and the 6 core 2 CD. 6 core. Two CD. They've got an 8. Foot has a 9, but they have a cohesion hit, so they have an 8. So 8s. Ooh, a 10. So they are both going to reroute. So, got to put a blue route marker. Of course, they're both gonna lose a step. Let me see, well, why did they lose a step? Well, they're losing a step because units are retreating to the rear. As they do, units just disappear. They don't want to fight anymore, so they go find a place to hide. So there we go. Now, if I retreat both of these units together through this hex, that's going to route this unit too, because they'd be overstacked. So this infantry unit is going to move through here and then on back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have to put a blue route marker on him, and then a blue route marker on this artillery. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and let's see, can it go over that creek? Yes, it can. 3, 4, 5. So it moves way back to here. Okay. All right, so that's all of the morale checks for the fire. Now we go to melee. So with the melee, you can have multiple units meleeing a hex. So of course we melee here. We just capture that artillery. It's routed. So and so we'll just go ahead and move these guys in here. And third. Eight. That's where this should be. All right, so third foot is completely gone. That was a 10 strength artillery unit. I was supposed to go through here and mark the melees, like, okay, melee there, melee there, melee in there. Melee there. Don't want a melee there. So we're just melee in those locations. All right, so let's go here first. All right, so I can't include these units. They came in already. Probably should have waited to bring them in, but okay, so the attackers, defenders. All right, so they've got 2 and 2. That's 4. Plus the leader. So they've got 5, a total of strength of 5, attack strength of 5. And melee modifiers. Don't have fletches. They're not in their flank. Cavalry not charging. Melee uphill, so that's a -1. So now they're at 4. Charging infantry column. Yes, so that's +2. So now they're at 6. Okay, so they have a total strength of 6. And strength-wise, it's 2B and 24D. Who knows? Forces. So they've got 9 and 8. That's 17. Okay. So they're on the 6th column. Okay. Got a 3. 3 is going to be 2 losses. to the front unit. So, third 1B. Third 1B takes two losses. Now see, when you do a when you have a record sheet, you can change the level of the morale easily. And that's what happens here is as the unit decreases, okay, has more casualties, the morale goes down. And it makes it harder for the unit to pass the morale checks, which is what should be happening. And of course now they have to have a morale check. But they get to attack back. But I believe we go through and do all of the attackers first. We do the attackers, the phasing players. Yeah, phasing melee step, non-phasing melee step. So we go through here and do all of the phasing players first. But we're going to have a morale check there for that one. Okay, so then we go to these units here. All right. So they have a leader. Melee of 2 and 2, so that's 4 plus this leader, that's 5. Okay. Now, modifiers, they are behind a trench. So that's -2, but, well, -3 because melee uphill. Is there a hill there? Maybe, no, there's not a hill on this one. Okay, just the trench. So it's -2, but it's charging infantry column, so that's +2. So they're going to be straight up at a 5, and their strength 2. Strength 25 and 57. 25. Okay, so 8 and 6 is 14. All right, so what 5 column or table, 5 table, got a 1. 5 table, that's going to be 3 losses. So, 3rd Corps DT. I'm going to take 3 losses. And we get to mark them with a check morale. Okay. So we move to here. Now that's cavalry. So the cavalry can actually withdrawal. So let's see about that. Well, I thought they could. Maybe they can't. Well, I would think they would be able to withdraw. Automatic retirement movements, 18. I think that's it. During a final melee resolution step, the following situations are added. All cavalry units in melee with an infantry unit or units in a square formation automatically make a retirement movement, regardless of the comparisons of the modified morale factors. All combat units in melee with an infantry unit or units in all-round defense must also automatically make a retirement movement, regardless of comparisons. Okay, so they can just pull back. So they pull back like so. So does that allow well, they'd have to have, I guess, a leader to be able to advance, and they don't. So, all right. All right, so we've got these units here attacking this stack. So they have a leader there with 2 dots. They've got a strength of 4, 5, 6. They're going uphill. That's -1. The fleshes are not on their side. So they're down to 5, but column, charging in column +2. So that's 7. And their strength, 15 light and 48. Let's see. That's 6 and 7, so that's 13. A 4, 7 for, okay, so that's 2 losses. And we'll take a loss from each one. Because it's, well, that's from the front, not from the flank. So that would be the front unit. So that's going to be the artillery. 8 foot. Okay, so that's 2 losses. All right, so that's all of that. Now they get to fire back. So they've got a strength of 3. Going downhill is 1. And they have that guys in column, so that's +2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But they don't get to use the strength. I don't think they get to use the strength of that artillery. Let's see. Well, it says for all combat defending units in a single melee. So I guess they would get to contribute as well. And that means we've got the 8th foot and then 2nd Guard 2B. 2B, they've got a, so they got a strength of 5. And that, oh, we're talking about the 8 down here. 2B, strength of 10, and 6 was going to be 16. So 3. 3, that's two hits. Okay. So that would be 2 hits on the 48th. So they'd have to do a morale check. Okay. strength of 1 plus 1, that's 2. Well, they're not charging though. They're not attacking. They're just defending. Melee downhill. They're not on a hill. They're behind a trench. Burst defense. Okay, so they don't get that. Charging infantry in column. They're not. Let's see here. Let's see what it says. Infantry unit charging. Don't know if they consider the defender charging. Maybe they would be just the defense. I'm not going to give them the +2. They don't want to advance. So they're just going to have a strength of 1, 2. And third DT. Third. They got a strength of 8. 6. Oh, under 6 is no effect. All right. So 1, 2, downhill is 3. Got a 4, and they're a 1B and 2B. 9 and 5 is 14. So they have 3. Rolled a 4. It's going to be a hit. 1 hit. 1 hit on 24D. Okay, so they've got to check morale. So now we have morale checks. So we'll start with the rows. 7. So 24D passed. 20, is that 2B, I guess? Yeah, he passed. They both had 7s. And there's a subtraction of 1 for the leader. They rolled a 7, becomes a 6. So, all right. And then over here, those two guys, 5. I don't think we got any. They're not in their flank. They're behind a trench, so that's a +1 to the die roll. So, 1B, 2B. I rolled a 5. Okay, they both passed. So now we have to see, okay, who has the highest morale? So 1B has an 8, 2B has an 8. Okay, and who knows? 24 has a 7. B has a 7. But with the leader, they have an 8, so it's tied. So, move those guys back. All right, so next, right here, we have a leader. That'll be -1. That's going to be 3. Okay, so he's got an 8, -1 to the die. 5, he passed. So now we have to take a look here. Who's got the better morale? So he has an 8. +1 is 9. And 57 and 25. Compagna. 7 and 8. So, yeah, they're going to have to back up. Retirement. Okay. So, six. We're not going to have to. That's 40. Was it 48? He's got a 6. And 15. Light has an 8. But Freehand has going to subtract 2 from the die. So they passed. And then here, a 4. So that's 8. They've got a 7. 7. 2B has a 9. 9 is the high, and 48. But let's see. But 15 light has an 8 plus 2. So that's going to force these guys to retire. But of course, these guns can't retire. So I guess they're captured. they can actually move in there. This is where you can't, there's not enough space. All right, so that completes the melee phase and the morale check. So, let's see. And then we would go to the Russian portion of the turn, which we're going to start that in another video. So the French have started to make some progress on their right flank. And they want to just hold off on their left, which could easily end up with a lot of pressure. Barclay is out. He's the leader of the First Army. So we'll have to roll for obedience on all of these leaders to find out if they're going to move or what they're going to do. At least the First Army will. So that we'll have to remember to do that. Barclay won't come back until the 7 o'clock turn. The Soviet, they weren't Soviets then, Russian turn. There's a lot of aspects of the mechanics that I like. I'm just a little frustrated with the map. It just seems to be so claustrophobic and not enough space to really, I think, to do the battle justice. You need a lot more space. Now you have on the La Bataille, you're going to have a ton of space on the north side of the map, which is not what I'm using. I'm only using the southern part, east and west. Here you've got some space over here to do some maneuvering. You have the French are just so scrunched up on the board. They needed some space to be able to to move their units around in the rear. But there should have been more space over here in the south part of the map. Just like the La Bataille, you don't have enough space on the southern part of the map that if you did want to try to maneuver an outflank to see if, the Russians could stop that, or if they would attempt to just withdraw to another line. You'd have to decide, is the Russian leader, Kutuzov, you'd have to decide, do we hold and try to move forces to our left flank to block that flanking maneuver, or are we going to withdraw and pull off of these defensive positions that we've created? See, that adds so much more, and also would allow you to possibly do a what if Napoleon had said, agreed to with Davout and said, okay, let's I'll hit them hard in the front, you maneuver around their flank, and let's crush them. He was just fearful that the Russians are just going to withdraw again. They've been withdrawing and withdrawing. They've been doing the Fabian tactic of not fighting, but just continue to withdraw inward. So really, both games are disappointment in maneuvering, being able to maneuver. Sure, you've got the whole north, okay, to maneuver, but that's not where most of the fighting occurred. It occurred on the south side of the river. Kalatasha River, it was south. It wasn't north. Borodino's on the north side of the river, but the fighting was over the Great Redoubt, the Fleshes, Utitsa, and neither game really did the battle justice by forcing you all into one area. I mean, I guess they're just trying to force you to fight historically. But give us an option. Would it have been that much to add, another section of the map? To actually in two directions, south and then west, to give the French some more maneuvering room in their rear. But there's a lot to take from this game, and I'm sure from A Thinly Red Line, that probably be one I'll take a look at some point, just to see how it compares to so many other Waterloo games. We've got Hexism. I think I've got that one over here somewhere. Yeah, the Fallen Eagles. I've got, let's see, La Bataille. That can be looked at. Maybe that's all, but that's enough, really. Probably have another one somewhere. It's probably a much smaller one. Yeah, I do. I do have. I probably have a couple more Waterloo games. They're much scales a lot smaller. Plus, there's the libraries of Napoleonic battles. I don't have that anymore. The only two that I've kept are the Peninsula War volumes. And I'm not going to go into a tirade about that whole system. I could, but I don't want to do that. Another book I've got is I've got this Offspray. I don't know what's going on here. I don't understand why that Russian Army of the Napoleonic Wars. So I don't know why is it. There we go. A lot of uniforms, destruction of the Grand Army, into the Napoleonic Wars, so forth and so on. Kind of interesting. But we will be discussing the information that's found at Napoleon's side in Russia and the campaigns of Napoleon by Chandler. The other one is a memoir of Calincourt. And I don't know, we might have his counter out here somewhere. I believe it's over on the La Bataille game. Pretty sure it is. So now I had rallying, and I had a unit here that should have been rallied right there, because they had a blue. Well, no, maybe that happened. Let's see. No, that would have happened. When did that happen? I think that happened during the last turn. So I'm going to remove it. No, it couldn't have. Couldn't have happened. Had to happen this turn. So we'll leave it there. So the next video we'll pick up with the Russian phase of the 0630 turn.